Welcome to the Live Free, Love Life podcast, where we discuss how to create more freedom so we can love our lives no matter what we're going through. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to today's episode of Live Free, Love Life. Today, we are going to talk about how to break free from the chains of your shadow self. We all have aspects of ourselves that we hide away. Shameful thoughts, secret desires, embarrassing habits, and traits. These disowned pieces make up our shadow self. But denying and suppressing these shadowy parts of your psyche doesn't make them go away. Instead, they continue to express themselves in unhealthy, unconscious ways that rob us of freedom and authenticity. So, what is the shadow self? The shadow is composed of the parts of your personality that you reject, are uncomfortable with, or have learned to repress. Things like jealousy, selfishness, laziness, greed, anger, or insecurity. As children, we quickly learn that expressing certain qualities is unacceptable based on messages from parents, teachers, peers, and society. So we bury those parts of ourselves out of fear of rejection, judgment, or punishment. But the shadow lives on in the unconscious, finding unhealthy ways to express itself that limit your freedom to be your true self. It may look like lashing out in anger when hungry, cheating on diets, or feeling jealous while pretending to be happy for others' success. The shadow controls you from the shadows. So, what are the steps to, or the path to unshackling your authentic self? Step one, build self awareness. The path to freedom starts by shining a light on your shadow. What qualities in yourself do you judge, criticize, or feel ashamed of? Get curious about your shadow's materialistic desires, laziness, needy tendencies, or whatever it is without harsh self judgment. The Enneagram personality system can help you identify your brightest virtues and darkest shadow drives. And we're going to talk about that closer to the end of this episode. Step two, self-compassion. As you become aware of your shadow, embrace it with radical self-compassion rather than constant rejection and denial. Tenderly make space for your anger, greed, and socially unacceptable traits. When you allow them with awareness, they no longer control you from the unconscious. Step three, integration. When you make space for your shadow qualities, they can be integrated in a healthy way rather than driving impulsive shadow behaviors. You'll make choices freely instead of being controlled by shadow compulsions. If disorganization is in your shadow, you can get organized from a place of self-understanding rather than avoidance. So let's talk about one of my clients, Kara. This is her journey to unshackling her true self. Kara was a successful marketing manager who seemed to have it all: an impressive career, an active social life, and an overall positive outlook. But she was also extremely hard on herself, constantly driving towards lofty goals while never feeling good enough. Kara repressed her insecurities, neediness, and self-critical voice, viewing them as weaknesses to be overcome. She first became aware of her shadowy inner critic during a meditation class. As she sat in silence, Kara was bombarded with a stream of harsh judgments about her body, her work performance, and her friends. Nothing seemed good enough for this internalized voice. Kara realized this wasn't her authentic self, but rather a cruel shadow she had accepted as truth. So let's go back through these steps again. Step one, build awareness. From that point on, Kara made a conscious effort to observe her inner critic without judgment, simply noting, there's that voice again. She paid attention to when the critical thoughts arose and what messages from her childhood they were connected to. Kara realized her type 1 perfectionist tendencies created this constantly disapproving shadow. Step two, self-compassion. The next step was to meet her shadow voice with compassion rather than giving it more energy. Whenever Karen noticed the critical voice pipe up, she enveloped that part of herself with love and kindness. She would picture herself giving her small, shadowy self a tender hug and say, "It's just my inner critic speaking. She needs some warmth." Step three, integration. Through this gentle awareness and self compassion process, Kara's harsh inner voice began to lose much of its sting. She could notice it, embrace it, and allow those insecure, self critical aspects of herself while unhooking her entire sense of self worth from them. Kara was cultivating wholeness. For the first time, Kara began to feel free, free from the internalized shaming that had been weighing her down for decades. She dropped her harsh perfectionistic standards, pursuing goals from a place of peace rather than self criticism. Kara was more present with loved ones, glowing with authenticity rather than fixating on perceived flaws. In the past, Kara's shadow had found unhealthy outlets like demandingly nitpicking others' work or binging on food and alcohol to dull her inner voice. Now, she could acknowledge her shadow tendencies without acting on them unconsciously. At last, she felt free, integrated, and vibrant. As you embrace your wholeness, you'll experience profound inner freedom. Freedom from endless self criticism and the exhaustion of maintaining an inauthentic mask. You'll feel the freedom to simply be, all of you, without apology or hiding. You'll also free yourself from unconsciously projecting or dumping your shadow qualities onto others. When you own your judgmental or critical tendencies, you'll have more authentic relationships built on a mutual understanding of human imperfection. For instance, before embracing her shadow, Kara would harshly judge friends or coworkers for being lazy if they didn't have her workaholic drive. She projected her own repressed desires to relax and have more work life balance onto them. This created a dynamic where Kara looked down on others for displaying qualities she secretly wished she could express. In her romantic relationships, Kara's neediness and insecurity drove her to cling tightly to partners and become jealous or accusatory if they wanted space. She was unconsciously dumping her shadowy abandonment fears onto them rather than owning those parts of herself. With her family, Kara's perfectionistic standards led her to criticize loved ones harshly over small mistakes or flaws that she couldn't tolerate in herself. Her own self criticism was surrounded by frequent snapping at family members over small things like a slightly messy room. As Kara recognized and allowed space for her shadow's nitpicky criticisms, neediness, and harsh self judgment, she stopped compulsively projecting them onto others. She could embrace her own humanness and that of her friends, partner, and family. Kara could be present with loved ones' imperfections without feeling triggered or demanding unrealistic standards. Her relationships became more authentic without the transference of her shadowy qualities, which created tension, judgment, and a lack of empathy. When jealousy arose, Kara could say, I'm feeling that insecure voice pipe up, but I know it's not about you, rather than blaming her partner. With greater self awareness, she could witness her controlling self criticism without subjecting others to it. This created more mutual understanding, vulnerability, and connection in all of Kara's closest relationships. So let's talk more about how to use the Enneagram to let go of the chains of your shadow. The Enneagram is an ancient personality typing system that can provide profound wisdom and guidance for integrating one's shadow self. At its essence, the Enneagram maps out 9 fundamental personality types and their intrinsic light and shadow qualities. Each of the 9 Enneagram types has a core desire, fear, and coping mechanism that drives behavior in both healthy and unhealthy ways. The Enneagram reveals the virtues and highs of each type, as well as their chief blind spots, compulsions, and the aspects of self that get rejected into the shadow. For example, the type 4 personality, known as the individualist, has the great gift of emotional sensitivity and authenticity, but also struggles with shame, envy, and holding on to loss. The type 4's shadow may look like wallowing, self indulgence, and creating their own emotional turmoil as a way to feel unique. The type 8 challenger carries immense personal power and willingness to fight for justice, but their shadow holds repressed vulnerability, the fear of being controlled, and lashing out in anger when challenged. Understanding your core Enneagram type allows you to illuminate the specific shadow aspects and core fears, desires, motivations driving your unconscious behavior. You can also raise awareness of your type's defensive mechanisms for avoiding difficult emotions and parts of yourself that tend to get disowned. Working with the Enneagram provides a roadmap for all the qualities, both light and dark, that are asking for integration. With this awareness, you can make conscious choices rather than staying stuck in your shadow's compulsions and blind spots. You'll cultivate more compassion for your own human perfections and those of others. Knowing your dominant Enneagram type is just the start. The true power lies in using that wisdom to uncover, re-own, and ultimately transmute the rejected aspects of yourself into sources of freedom and personal power. The Enneagram offers a profound framework for doing this ever-deepening shadow work of radical self-acceptance. It is an invaluable tool for the journey of wholeness and breaking free from the chains of your unconscious shadows. And you can just get on Google, type free Enneagram test, and you can go take a few tests just to get started to find your type. I'm going to give you some examples. These are examples of the shadow aspects and paths to integration for each of the 9 Enneagram types. So if you don't know your type yet, just listen and see which one sounds kind of like you, and that also can be a good starting point. If you do know your type, this could be awesome because it's going to tell you some things maybe you didn't know. Okay, so type 1 is the reformer. The shadow can look like harsh self-criticism, nitpicking others, and secretive anger or resentment. The path to freedom for ones: allow imperfection in yourself and others and express anger constructively. Type 2 is the helper. Their shadow could look like codependency, a martyr complex, or manipulation to get needs met. And the path to freedom for 2s is to set boundaries and prioritize your own needs directly. Type 3 is the achiever. The shadow could look like workaholism, attention seeking, and vanity. The path to freedom for 3s is to connect to your intrinsic self-worth beyond achievements. Type 4, the individualist. Your shadow could look like self-indulgence, envy, or melancholy. The path to freedom for 4s is to let go of the ego's need to be unique or special and to find joy. Type 5 is the investigator. Their shadow could look like emotional detachment, avarice, or secret areas of overindulgence. The path to freedom for 5s is to open yourself to your feelings and to find balance. Type 6 is the loyalist. Your shadow could look like excessive doubt, worst case scenario thinking, control issues, and anxiety. The path to freedom for 6s is to build earned confidence and embrace uncertainty. Type 7 is the enthusiast. Their shadow could look like impulsivity, scattered efforts, avoiding pain, and gluttony. The path to freedom for 7s is to be present, go deeper, and confront difficult emotions. Type 8 is the challenger. Their shadow could look like rage or anger issues, lashing out when vulnerable, and a need to control. The path to freedom for 8s is to allow softness, disarm superiority, and the need to dominate. Type 9s are the peacemaker. Their shadow could look like stubborn neglect of self, zoning out, misguided acceptance, and slothfulness. The path to freedom for 9s is to get in touch with your voice and your boundaries and to wake up to life. For every type, the path to wholeness involves building awareness of your specific shadows without judgment. Make space for your disowned qualities with compassion and curiosity about their origins. Consciously choose to unhook from your type's core fears and motivations and limiting patterns. As you integrate your shadows, you'll unlock your Enneagram's types. As you integrate your shadows, you'll unlock your type's highest virtues and be liberated from its unconscious compulsions. The Enneagram provides a tangible map for exploring your psyche's depths and embracing all you've rejected, paving the way for unshackled freedom. And the Enneagram is not the only way to explore your shadow. It is just one way, and it's one way that I have found super helpful in my own life and when I've used it with clients. But there are other ways, so for sure, just go out and Google like shadow work. how to start uncovering your shadow. Go Google that and you will find other tools and modalities for helping you do that work. So here are some questions to consider. What qualities in yourself do you judge, criticize, or feel ashamed of? Why? What would it take to accept these parts of yourself? And how might you show yourself self-compassion as you bring your shadow into the light? Facing the darkness means feeling shame, fear, anger, and pain that you have repressed. But denying your shadow ensures those feelings maintain control over you forever. Have the courage to bring your shadow into the light with compassion and curiosity. Only by understanding and allowing all aspects of yourself can you break free from your shadow's chains. Live in unshackled authenticity and alignment with your integrated whole self. The path isn't easy, but the freedom is immense. Live free, love life. Thank you for watching this episode of Live Free, Love Life. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you next time.